أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم نحمده ونصلي على رسول الكريم أما بعد السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. Today I'm going to go through a passage from one of the greatest books of Islamic civilization, one of the greatest books ever written in human history, but also one of the greatest books of Islamic civilization, which is the Ihya Ulumuddin of Hujjatul Islam, Abi Hamid Ghazali, Imam Ghazali, Rahmatullahi alayh. I've had the blessing and the fortune of studying this book. This book is not taught in the madrasa, it's not taught in Darul Ulum, it's not part of the Nizami syllabus. But many years ago, Sheikh Jamal knows more than most people, I had the blessing after I graduated from madrasa. I don't call myself Farig, by the way. Farig is for somebody else, not for me. Farig is when you finish. Farig is when I get to Jannah, inshallah. That's when I'm Farig, inshallah ta'ala. So Farig is like we use these titles, but I think sometimes it can be misleading because somebody thinks that they've learned everything. But knowledge is something there's no limit to it. There's no limit to knowledge because knowledge comes from Allah and Allah knows everything. So how are we even going to come to scratch the surface of the knowledge that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has bestowed? But when I came back up north, if you like, I had the blessing that I continued studying when I met my wife with Mufti Inayatullah Sahib. He had just set up his Darul Ulum, Miftahul Ulum. May Allah keep him in good health and give him health and a blessed life, and Allah keep him in good health, inshaAllah ta'ala. He's someone that I spent many years with, and this was one of the books I studied with him. So I studied the Ihya Ulumuddin, the Mukhtasar. There's a shorter version of the Ihya Ulumuddin. And for me, it was a very spiritually, motivational, inspiring journey with him because Imam Ghazali is someone who's very deep. And Mufti Inayatullah, as you all know, is someone who has one of many karamat, which is that he has istiqamah. He's able to day in, day out, perform his rituals and perform his acts of obedience. And he doesn't sway in what he believes in. That is very rare to find in people today. That's the karamat of the awliya, that they're able to stay upon the deen and they are able to pray salah with jama'ah and they're able to teach and benefit and do work with nothing to expect from people. So he was someone that I had spent some time with. I studied other books with him. So what I'm trying to say is I never stopped studying, and I was blessed to have many years spent with him as well. There was only a few of us in the class then because the Miftah al-Ulum was quite new. So one of the imams just next door in Plague Gate, Mufti Muhammad Ugrada, we are classmates. You know Mufti Muhammad Ugrada, the Imam at Plague Gate. So he graduated with Mufti Inayatullah's Darul Ulum. He was a student then. I graduated already many years before, but I would still consider myself a student. So I would sit in the same classes that they were sitting in, because you can read Bukhari again, you can read Muslim Sharif again. What's stopping you? You can study with your ulama again. So it's very important that we sit at the feet of ulama, and I'm a big believer in this. Even though I sometimes can make myself available on social media, I still believe that the best way to learn knowledge is at the feet of ulama. And Imam Ghazali is also very important because he's a sheikh. His book is a sheikh for the one who has no sheikh, who a sheikh man la sheikh lah. People sometimes reach out to me and say, Maulana, in America or in this part of the world we don't have ulama, so what do we do? I said, read Ihya Ulumuddin or read Hazrat Thanvi's books, for example, because they are very powerful books. So Imam Ghazali's book has stood the test of time. There was a time when his books were even burnt because people found his books too strong, because he had some strong things to say about the halat of the ummah as well, and what he saw as some of the transgressions of the ummah. He was not just a Sufi, he was a mutakallim, i.e. he engaged in theology, discussions to do with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. He was very adept at this. He was also a philosopher, falsafa. He wrote books where he refuted philosophy. He was an usuli. He wrote books on usul. He was a Shafi'i, but he was what we call a polymath. A polymath is someone who has knowledge in many sciences, an expert in many sciences. So Imam Ghazali was many things besides just being reduced to being a Sufi. He was much more than that as well. And Allah blessed him with immense knowledge, immense fame as well. He was one of the top professors in Baghdad when he was a teacher. Nobody could compare with him. But then he had a spiritual journey, he had an awakening where he left the dunya and he went into khalwa, they say for 10 years, where he wrote this book and he really looked at the state of the ummah, looked deep within himself. So his book is very important even today, and you'll see that some of the things he talks about are bi'aynihi relevant just as they were in his time 1,000 years ago, i.e. they are just as important and relevant for us, because the human being hasn't changed. The dunya has changed, technology has come, we've changed in many ways in our lifestyles, but as a human subject we still have the same problems: greed, hasad, all these things that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala talks about. These metaphysical problems, as we call them, these spiritual problems are still here to stay. They're not going to disappear. You can create the best technology, best machines, but the people who create those machines will put their vision into those machines. So technology is not neutral. Technology is created by people who have ideology, right? And we have to be aware of that. So he has this important discussion, which I just want to share with you. I was teaching this to my students, and I thought it'd be very, very useful to share it with you, bi'iznillahi ta'ala. So he says, what is special about the human being? Insan ki khasiyat kya hai? Bayan khasiyat qalbul insan. What is it about insan that makes us special? Hamari khasiyat kya hai? What is it that makes me and you special? He said Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given many gifts to his makhluk, his human beings, his servants, his animals as well. Animals also have anger. They get angry. If a lion feels threatened, it will pounce upon you. It will also have desires. Animals also have desires, shahwat. So we have those things as well. It has outside faculties and inside faculties as well. So for example, when a sheep sees a wolf, straight away it knows that this is an enemy. Its heart knows that this is an enemy for me, and it will run away from it. This is something that Allah gave animals. So animals know instinctively. If you look at most animals, nearly every animal in existence, they're always frightened. Even cats. I have a cat myself. Aapne dekha hai? You see my cat? Even the cat's been with me for 3 years, right? But it's still on edge. If I just do this, my cat pounds. It's always on edge. Animals are always like that. They're always frightened. Birds, they're always like watching out. Even when they come close to you and you give them food, they're always not trusting you because their life is in danger, because they're not at the top of the food chain. Because we are at the top of the food chain, we don't fear. But the animal is always worried that something might happen and it will take me. So animals have this, that they know how to defend themselves, and they have this understanding. But he says there's something about us that's very, very special. Allah has created with special faculties. And through that gift that Allah has given me and you, that Allah has given us, we draw close to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And he says it's two things. وَهُوَ رَاجِعٌ إِلَىٰ عِلْمٍ وَإِرَادَةٍ. You must follow this argument. It's very, very deep. Allah has given us two things that makes us special: knowledge and irada. Irada means will, to do something, willpower. So Allah has given us knowledge, and Allah has given us irada, will, to do something. You think about it. What is ilm? What is knowledge? So he says, فَهُوَ الْعِلْمِ بِالْأُمُورِ الدُّنْيَوِيَّةِ وَالْأُخْرَوِيَّةِ وَالْحَقَائِقِ أَقْلِيَّةِ. We have the ability, let me break this down for you. We have a unique ability to think about things in this world and also the akhirah. We also have the ability to think about the reality of things as well. We can also think about things that are beyond the senses. Yani, you see this yellow paper, you can see this, right? You can see it's a piece of paper. So you can see things that are physical, but your brain also has a faculty which can think above that. If I say cow, your mind immediately starts thinking about a cow, even though there's no cow in here, because you know from experience. If I start talking about something deep, your mind starts thinking about it straight away. So you're also able to think consciousness about things that don't even exist. Animals can't do that. We can imagine things. You can philosophize about things. You can do all of these things which animals cannot do. You can rationalize about things, that you know that if you walk down the stairs and you cross the road, this will happen, that will happen. If you eat something poisonous, this will happen. When you see something hot, like a kettle, you know that if you touch it, you'll burn yourself, even before you do it. Why? Because you have this ability to think. You use your senses, but you're also using everything else as well, your aql as well, which animals don't have the ability to do. So you're able to rationalize, You're able to think about things which Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given to you. Allah refers to this in the Quran in many, many ways. أَفَلَا تَعْقِلُونَ أَفَلَا تَتَدَبَّرُونَ. Do you not reflect? Do you not ponder? Allah tells you time and time again to do this, to look at His signs. What are signs? They point towards something. What do they point towards? In the Quran, they point towards a creator. When you read the signs in the Quran, the ayats, they point towards a creator. When you look at the signs around you, they point towards a creator. Nothing that you have ever come across has ever appeared magically. Tell me something that's appeared magically. Everything that you come across, everything that you see, you know that there was a creator for it. Sahih? Who created this? A man. How do you know? You weren't there? Did you meet him? No. So how do you know? But did you see the man? Did you see him cut the trees? तो आपको किस तरह पता है कि किसी ने बनाया? Because adat. Because the normal process. But what faculty have you used? Which gift have you used? Understanding. Because you haven't used your eyes. आपने आँख से देखा है? नहीं. आपने कानों से सुना है? Have you heard it? No. So what have you used? This faculty. देखा? You use it straight away. You don't realize you're using it. So straight away Allah Ta'ala has given you this ability. So let's follow the argument. Is there anything like this in the world that has come about? One day news reporter says, oh, we just spotted something in the middle of the Greenland or somewhere in New Zealand. It disappeared. No. Everything we know has a creator. Har cheez. वो चाय है हजरत चाय तमें बैठे लाचे थे did it just appear? किसी ने बनाया है. So there is a creator for everything. Yes, the creator was the person who made the chair. The person made this book. But who's the real creator? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. How do we know He's a real creator? Even when we think about it, everything in existence, everything, without exception, has a creator. Har cheez. Everything. Even if we weren't there, we can think about it. The planets, we'll have theories about how planets came about. We'll have theories about how stars came about. We'll have theories about how the sun came about. We'll have all these theories about humans, where did they come from? Science will say this. But where does everything has a creator? Nothing appears without just magic, except Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Only Allah. Allah says in the Quran, Badi'us samawati wal ard. He brings into existence without any material. Allah does not need wood. Allah does not need cement. Allah does not need sand. He does not need water. Allah doesn't need anything. He's free from all of this because He is the creator of everything. So if you go back, Allah has to be the first. He has to be the Khaliq of everything. And if you think about it rationally, there has to be a first cause for everything. And that can only be Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Can you see? Because otherwise you keep going backwards. Who created Allah? Then how far back are you going to go? So Allah is the creator of everything. So when you think about it, this proves that there is a creator who's wise, who created the universe, who put everything into its right place, which is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So this is through ilm. This is basic thinking. This wasn't like difficult. But why don't we teach our children this way to think? Especially in our day and age where atheism and people are becoming murtad and people are questioning faith. Why don't we teach them basic thinking tools? This is what Islam is about. Imam Ghazali is mentioning, he's right this in the beginning of his book here as well. So he says this is very, very important to bear in mind. Even thinking, basic thinking. For example, we know things that are impossible and possible. We know, for example, that Abdul Rahman Bhai is here, right? If he's here, can he be anywhere else? No, it's impossible for him to be anywhere else. So you know that from basic thinking that you can only occupy one space. You can only be at one place one time. So even when you're thinking, if somebody said now that, if somebody rang me later on and said, oh, after Maghrib I saw him in Preston, I'd be like, no, it's not possible. Either I saw him wrong or he was actually there in Preston. But he was not in two places at once unless somebody cloned you, right? But then that's the question, well, are you really the same person? You're not really, you're a clone. Right, but you can only be in one place at one time. So in other words, your brain is always doing this. You say, Maulana, where do you get all of this from? Bhai, you do it all the time. आप हर वक्त अपने अकल को इस्तेमाल करते हो. You're always using your aql. You're always thinking. It's just that you don't know it. You're always rationalizing. When you're going London, like I went a few days ago, in your mind you're planning the journey. You're rationalizing that I need to get to the train at this time. I need to get the half an hour in advance. This is going to happen, that's going to happen. You plan your journey, you're doing it. Animals can't do that. Animals can't think at that level that you're doing. Does that make sense? Aql Salim, yes. Aql Salim. But also you're able to think beyond what's in front of you, right? Beyond the immediate. You're able to think about the akhirah. That's why Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given you this knowledge. So knowledge is very, very important. It's a gift that Allah has given to you which no other creature has. Allah has given you knowledge. And this is mentioned in the Quran when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala created Adam. What does He say? وَعَلَّمَ وَعَلَّمَ. Allah taught Adam. وَعَلَّمَ آدَمَ الْأَسْمَاءَ كُلَّهَا. One of the greatest gifts that Allah gave to Adam was knowledge, ilm. Through knowledge you draw closer to Allah. The more knowledge you have, you are able to climb all the way to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. All the way to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. You have ma'rifah, you have knowledge of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. But you also need a second gift, which is Allah's given you irada, will. You have willpower. فإنه إذا أدرك بالعقل عاقبة الأمور وطريق الصلاة فيها انبعث في من ذات الشوق إلى جهة المصلحة وإلى طاعة أسبابها والإرادة لها. Soon as you start thinking that I need to do X, Y, and Z, you are then making harakah. You are then making movements towards it. You're making will. That I know that, if I want to get to Jannah, then I have to do things. I can't sit here and listen to Maulana Haroon all day. I can't sit here praying tasbih all day. I've got to do things. I've got to pray namaz. I've got to be a good human being. If I want to get to university, then I need to go to college. I need to go to university. I need to do this. If I want to get a good job, I need to do this. So what happens is once you have knowledge, once you know you need to do the processes, then immediately you start doing things, or you should be doing things. You start making fikr towards it. Okay? So this is very, very important. He says animals can't do this. Animals are not able to because they don't have knowledge in the first place. Because they don't have knowledge, they don't have willpower after. They're not able to do anything. If animals had this ability, they would have created things. They would have made things. But animals have been the same ever since. They're still in the same place. But we've moved, we've evolved, we've moved in different stages, we've invented things. Because Allah has given us knowledge and Allah has given us willpower. He's given us the freedom to make choices. Allah has given you that gift. It's a gift. You have a choice. Ahmad, you can do something right or you can do something wrong. The choice is yours. Allah will tell you what to do, but the choice will be yours. You live with the consequences. This is very, very important. So knowledge, you need to have knowledge and right knowledge, and then you need to have willpower to be able to act upon that knowledge as well. Otherwise, no use. What's the use having knowledge if you can't do anything with it? So Allah has given you irada as well. Allah has given you the ability to make choices, to do the right thing. You are mukallaf. Allah has given you taklif. Allah has given you what we call moral responsibility. I.e., if you do something, there'll be actions, there'll be conclusions, there'll be a result at the end of your action as well. So this is very, very important. For example, an animal, if you were able to talk to an animal, you say to an animal, I need to do some cupping, I need to do some work on your body because you got this disease in you. The animal will say no, if it was able to talk. Why? Because it looks only at the immediate. It's like, I don't want to be harmed. But if somebody said to you, but you've got cancer, and if we don't give you the injection, we don't do chemotherapy with you, you're going to die. You know what chemotherapy does to you. Allah protect all of us, by the way. Allah protect all of us. Those who have cancer, Allah give them shifa. One of my friends just texted me today, his mother-in-law, she received the news that she's got cancer. Allah give her shifa. So, but what do you do as soon as you get it? You don't say, I don't want it. It's too painful. You say, no, stop, bismillah, stop, quickly, give me the chemotherapy quickly. Why? Because you're rationalizing in your mind, you're not looking at the immediate return. You're thinking long term, that if I do ilaj now, that will increase the chances of my survival. So what you do irada, you have irada, I'm going to do something about it. So how unfortunate for us that the most important matter, which is our akhirah, we give no importance to it. We don't even care about our akhirah. But somebody says there's a blemish on your face, or you have some white hair, or you're bald, immediately we want to fly to Turkey and get it done. Right? Like straight away, right? We want to get it done. So why? Because we care about the body too much. It's good to look after yourself, Yani. I'm not saying it's haram. But we're too materialistic. We don't think about the akhirah. Like what is most important? What is the greatest importance that I need to be involved with? So we have ilm and we have irada. What are the two gifts? Knowledge and irada which Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given to you. And children, when they're at a young age, this is not fully developed. Children, when you have children, you've all had children or you know children, this is not fully developed. They don't quite understand. So when you give, like my daughters, one's understanding now. If you say to them, Safiya, if you wait, I'll give you 2 chocolate bars. If you want it now, I'll give you 1. You know which one she'll go for? The 1. Why? They want this one. وَكَانَ الْإِنسَانُ عَجُولًا. Abbi, we want it now. Because human beings at a young age, they haven't developed that. If somebody says to you now, if you want, I'll give you 50,000 pounds, but ek week baad tumne 100,000 pounds, I'll give you 100. What will you do? You'll wait a week. But that's because you've developed your intellectual capacity to think, well, I'd rather wait. But a child doesn't understand that because they're still young, they're still developing. So a child needs to be protected at that age as well. So they don't have complete fact, and they always go after their desires. If you give a child sweet, they're not going to say, Dad, diabetes, I don't want sweet, it's bad for your health, it's full of sugar, it's full of chemicals. They'll just say, Dad, give me sweet as much as you can, give me as much chocolate. They won't think about this. Why? Because they're not at that level yet. When you get to an older age and you're like, nah, sugar is I'll have to watch my sugar. I'll have to watch my level. Why? Because you've realized now that you need to be careful. So a child needs protecting. Why is this important, what Imam Ghazali is saying? Because in our modern day and age, what are they saying to us? That your child should make their own choices. They can change from male to female, female to male. They can do this, they can add bits, take bits off. We don't want parents to care about them. Because this is the modern day now. This is the fitna of the day. Like, it's all about you. What do they say? It's your body. It's your body, you can do what you want. My body. It's my autonomy. George, I can do whatever I want. What do we say? No. The body does not belong to me. The body belongs to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Allah has given it to me as a trust. Allah has given me this body as a trust. He chose for me my gender. He chose that I should be a male. Or He chose that I should be a female. That is from the qadr of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Because Allah, I believe, knew what is best for me. Remember this. Our aqidah is what? That Allah knows what's best for me. Am I wrong or right? Allah knows best what's for me. Allah has always known what's best for me. Allah knows best what's best for everyone. But what do? We think we know better. We want to change things. It is as though you are saying that you're not happy with the qadr of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. It is as though you are saying that Allah made a mistake. Na'udhu billahi min zalik. Whatever Allah chose for you, that is best for you. If Allah gave you wealth, then that's good for you. If Allah kept you in poverty, that's also good for you. If Allah gave you beauty, that's good for you. It's a gift from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. As long as you use it in the right way. It's ingratitude. It's kufr. It's ingratitude to be ungrateful for what Allah has given to you. So Imam Ghazali is telling us this, that a child at a young age absolutely needs their parents around them. Absolutely needs them to make choices for them. Because a child does not know. A child will do whatever it thinks is best. You take the child to the shop downstairs, they're going to eat everything that's available, every sugar, sweet, chocolate, everything that's there. But we know that's going to be harmful to them. But they don't know yet because they haven't developed, they haven't matured yet, they haven't got the experience yet, they haven't got the knowledge yet. But what we're doing in modern society is saying, we don't want all of that. Let them do what they want. So we're destroying our civilization. We're destroying our children. Allah protect us and our children as well. So this is very, very important, because what happens is as you grow, Naeem, as you grow, you learn through experiences. The first time you touch a kettle, you won't remember because you were a baby probably, or nobody told you. When you first touch it, what happens? You burn your hand. Your brain immediately records that. Recording ho gaya, download ho gaya. Now your brain knows that next time it sees a kettle on the cooker, I'm not going to go and touch it. Why? This comes through experience. So a lot of what we learn is through experience. Just like aapne kaha tha ke the person who made this book, right, he put it together. You said it through experience because you know this is your experience. Halak you've never seen it. So as you get older, you learn more, you build your knowledge, you have more memory, you remember things from history. Does that make sense? Right? And then you make less errors because now you know that, well, last time I made a mistake, ab fir dobara, I'm not going to make that same mistake. This is what Imam Ghazali is telling us. But he says that knowledge and irada are very, very important. This is the main point I'm making here today. Knowledge and irada are very important, and there are two gifts that Allah has given to us which differentiates me and you from other makhluk of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. This is the greatest gift that Allah has given to us, knowledge and irada. Then he says that there are different levels when it comes to knowledge. Ilm, not everyone is the same. Somebody once, a foolish person, said to me, oh, we're all equal. I said, nay, nay, nay. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in the Quran, He actually says it in a rhetorical fashion. Yani, you're not meant to answer the question. Yeah? That does the one who knows and not know, are they the same? Are they? They're not equal. There's different levels. In our society, they want to level everything. They want everybody's equal. In what sense are they equal? No, we as Muslims believe there's different levels. Some people are above other people. Some people are below other people by virtue of their knowledge and their expertise. Nowadays, people just want to make everything flat. In Islam, we don't have this. In Islam, there's levels. We have like a level that you have to earn, you have to work, and Allah gives it to some people. So he says in ilm, there are certain people who are, or there are people or categories of people who are above others. This is very, very important for us to also bear in mind. And he gives examples of this as well. For example, the prophets are the highest level. The prophets are the highest level, and the prophets, Allah just gives it to them knowledge. Ek is to go madrasa and to learn. Go to dawah room or go to school or sit with some professor or expert and you learn with them. One is Allah just gives it to you. Allah just bestows it upon you. This is what happened with the Prophets alayhi salatu wasalam. And my Nabi and your Nabi Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wasallam had no education. He had no education. He didn't go to college. He didn't go to university. He doesn't have a PhD. He didn't go to madrasa. He didn't go to Deoband. He didn't go to Al-Azhar. He went to none of those places. One of the wisdoms behind this, the ulama tell us, one of the wisdoms behind this was Allah Ta'ala wanted to bring him up without any influence upon him, in a pure fashion. In a pure fashion. He wasn't influenced by anything else because he lived in the deserts of Arabia where there was no influence. Allah Ta'ala brought him up. Allah did his tarbiyah, and he was brought up without any education. He wasn't influenced, because now we have influences. After we are all influenced, everybody's wanting our influences. Everybody wants to influence. Rasulullah was not educated, but he was educated by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And there can be no one who can be a better educator than Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, because he is a source of knowledge. So Rasulullah alayhi wasallam was not educated by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala himself. This does not mean that, I've heard people say, oh, you shouldn't get educated. That's the stupid. Because Prophet ﷺ was not educated, so we shouldn't get educated, we shouldn't study, we shouldn't go to college, we shouldn't go to university, we shouldn't go to madrasa. No. That's for the Anbiya. That's what Imam Ghazali is saying. Allah gives it to certain people. But for me and you, we have to work for it. We have to study. Then the Anbiya, then you have the awliya, then you have the ulama. They are also high level. Rasulullah has told us that the ulama are as inheritors of the prophetic knowledge. The Prophet ﷺ didn't leave any money behind. He didn't leave any wealth behind. He left behind ilm. The ulama's job is to teach people their deen, to teach them knowledge. So I'm passing the prophetic inheritance on to you, and then you will pass it on to your children. That's what we do as Muslims. That's knowledge. That's the gift that Allah has given to us. We pass that knowledge on. We don't just sit here and say, Maulana Haroon, very good, very nice, let's go home and forget about it. No, we bring it into our lives. So the ulama, and then you have the awliya, and you have different levels. And then it goes into negative too. It can go into negative. People who are jahil, people who don't learn, people who don't study, people who are overcome with their desires, people who are like shaitan, or animals, like Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala talks about them. Ulaika kal an'ami bal hum adhal. They're like cattle, or worse than them. Like shaitan, even though he had knowledge, he had arrogance, he had pride in him. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala threw him out. Allah told him to go away. Shaitan means to be distant from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So the more knowledge you have and you act upon knowledge, you draw closer to Allah. And the Prophet ﷺ is the perfect embodiment of that. ﷺ. That's why his sunnah is very important. That's why the ulama are very important. That's why the awliya are really important. But on the other side, you have shaitan and you have evil. Why is that existing? Because Allah wants to show to you, don't become like them. Allah is teaching you two ways. One is to become like the awliya. One is to become like the anbiya. One is to become like the Prophets ﷺ, to follow their ways. But Allah is also teaching you in the Quran, when He shows the bad examples, don't become like them. Don't become like Pharaoh. Don't become like those evil people, like Iblis and so forth. So Allah is teaching you both ways. One is to become this, and one is to not become this. This is what Allah is also teaching you in the Quran, also the Prophet ﷺ as well. So the more knowledge you have, and the more you act upon that knowledge, you have willpower, and you act upon that knowledge, inshallah you will draw close to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And Imam Ghazali gives us hope as well. He's a great scholar. He says, وَهَذِهِ الرَّحْمَةُ مَبْذُولَةٌ بِحُكْمِ الْوُجُودِ وَالْكَرَمِ مِنَ اللَّهِ subhanahu wa ta'ala. Allah just gives it to whoever wishes. Jisko chahiye Allah denge unko. But you have to ask for it. You have to knock on the door of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. If you want something from someone, you have to pester them. Right? If you want something from them, you have to chase them. But if you want from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, you have to knock on His door. And Allah will never turn you away from Him. Because Allah is the one who has no limits. If He gives you, He doesn't lose anything. Jalla wa ala. So He says, this is important. He quotes from the Quran in Surah Fatir, verse number 2. مَا يَفْتَحِ اللَّهُ لِلنَّاسِ مِنْ رَحْمَةٍ فَلَا مُمْسِكَ لَهَا. Whoever Allah opens for someone, then no one can stop Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So if Allah blesses you with knowledge, if Allah accepts you, Allah takes good work from you, that's from the rahmah of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And Allah will give to you. But you have to make effort. You have to make that step towards Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Rasul sallallahu alayhi wa sallam says in one hadith, مَنْ تَقَرَّبَ إِلَيَّ شِبْرًا تَقَرَّبْتُ إِلَيْهِ ذِرَاعًا. Whoever moves to me a span's length, this much, I will move to him an arm's length. In other words, when you move to Allah, Allah will come to you even closer than you've come closer to Him. Jalla wa ala. But you have to make the harakah. You have to make the fikr. You have to make the concern. Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam says in another hadith, he says, ينزل الله كل ليلة إلى السماء الدنيا فيقول هل من داء فاستجيب له. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala comes down. Allah knows best how this happens, but Allah comes down every night to the heavens of the earth, and He says, is there anyone who's asking that I can give to him? So Allah is ready to give. You know, people say, I don't have anything. Have you ever asked? Have you turned to Allah? Have you made requests to Allah? Have you changed your life to draw closer to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? So this is very, very important. This is very, very important that we make fikr and we turn towards Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And then Imam Ghazali says something very, very powerful. He says that your happiness, you know, we all want happiness. Everybody wants to be happy, right? Everybody wants to go to sleep comfortable. Everybody wants a nice hot shower. Everybody wants some good food, not mug every day. We want some biryani. We want all of this. We want to be happy, right? We all want to have, there's nothing wrong with mug. I had mug. I love mug once in a while. So if you love mug, I'm not insulting you. But he says, what is happiness? Sa'ada. This is something that human beings have been looking for and craving for eternity. Even today, you'll meet people all over the world trying to find happiness. They might go into Burma, somewhere in the mountains, try out Buddhism or some Zen religion, or they'll go to China. You know, like you meet all these hippies and so forth. They try all these different things. Or you find people in America, they mix all these religions up. You might have seen New Age religion. They get a bit of Rumi, they get a bit of Buddha, they mix it all up. They say, oh, we'll find happiness in this. And people pay lots of money for this. Or people do these courses. They pay these health gurus. You know, like, come on, pay me, give me £2,000 and I'll coach you and you'll become happy. And now you have all these books, self-help guides. If you go to bookstores, you'll find them. So I was in Houston. So we had some time. So we went to the bookstore there. And so they have all these help guides, you know, Atomic Habits. These are books that you can read them. They tell you how to improve your life, how to become better, how to become more efficient, this. You'll find these books, they're very popular nowadays. I mean, I even listen to them and I think this is just a sunnah. Like when I read them, I think this is just a sunnah. This is basically what the Prophet ﷺ told us to do, but these people have like made it fancy and they make a career of it. So he says, what is sa'ada? What's the word sa'ada? We call it happiness, but a better word I prefer is felicity. Yani happiness is just to be happy, but felicity is to be like felicitous, yani just to be content. Garib bhi ho to you're happy. Maldar bhi ho to be happy. Like if you had wealth or you had poverty, it doesn't make difference to you because you're happy. Your heart's qana'a bi qalbin salim. Right? The heart that's at ease. How do we get that heart? Because there's paise wale all around Blackburn who don't go to sleep at night. They have to take medication, they have tension. There's poor person who will go to sleep at night. There's also people who struggle to get contentment because they think happiness is more money or more of this, more. But Imam Ghazali says, وَجُمْلَةُ السَّعَادَةِ, in summary, happiness, فِي ذَلِكَ أَن يَجْعَلَ لِقَاءَ اللَّهُ تَعَالَى مَقْصَدَهُ, that your happiness lies that your only purpose is to meet Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That's all you want to do. أن يجعل لقاء الله تعالى مقصد. Maqsad, you know in Urdu, that you make your maqsad to please or to meet Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That's it. I just want to meet Allah. Allahumma inna nas'aluka hubbak. Allah, we ask for your love. Right? Allahumma inna nas'aluka lazzatan nazri ila wajhika al-kareem. Allah, we ask for the pleasure to see your blessed countenance. وَالشَّوْقَ إِلَى لِقَائِكَ, and to meet you, to have this desire to meet you. This is what a person needs. You have this. What did Rasulullah say when he was coming to the end of his life? What did he say? إِلَى رَفِيقِ الْأَعْلَى. What did he say to this Rafiq, his friend? Ibrahim alayhi salatu salam was the Khalilullah, the friend of Allah, because they knew that all other friends are going to come and go. All those things will come and go, but the real friend is the awliya Allah, the wali of Allah. Right? Wali of Allah is the one who only cares for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Then he says, وَالدَّارُ الْآخِرَةُ مُسْتَقَرَّهُ. So number one is his Allah is his purpose. Number one is the house of the akhirah is where he wants to remain. Mustaqar, where he wants to rest. وَالدُّنْيَا مَنْزِلَهُ. And the dunya is just a manzil. It's like a service station. It's like a train stop. We're just here for a few days and we're going. You're not going to stay here forever. You're not going to be here forever. Neither do you want to be here forever, to be honest, because of the nature of the dunya. Why would you want to be here? It's like wafadari bhi nahi hai. There's no like commitment. It's just, it cheats on you. It deceives you. Why would you want a friend like that? Why would you want to live here? وَالْبَدْنُ مَرْكَبَهُ. And your body is your ride. You ride your body. Yani uska matlab ye hai ke don't make the body such a thing that is everything. The body you're using, Allah's given you this body because it has a soul in it. And you're using the body to achieve your maqsad, to do your ibadah, to pray your Quran, to do good, to stay away from haram. But the body will rot away. When you die, it will become food for the insects. But your ruh is eternal. Your ruh, which Allah blew into Adam and then it passed on into you, will continue into the akhirah. That's what you need to beautify. That's what you need to embellish. And he says, وَالْأَعْضَاهُ خِدْمَتُهُ. And your bodies are your khadim. Your body parts are your khadim. I.e., use your hand to read, to do good. Use your eyes to look at good. Use your mouth to smile, to do zikr, to hug and to help people. Use your body, your limbs are your soldiers. Imam Ghazali said they're like your soldiers. You're using them to worship Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and to draw closer to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And we want to become like the awliya. We want to become like the malaika who obey Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Imam Ghazali says that, this was pointed out in the Quran when, in the story of Yusuf alayhi salatu wasalam, when the women, they saw Yusuf alayhi salatu wasalam, they saw how beautiful he was. What did he say? Ma hadha basharun illa malakun kareem. Yes, they cut their hands. What did he say? Ma hadha basharun hadha illa malakun kareem. They saw the beauty of Yusuf alayhi salatu wasalam. They said, this is not a human being. He's like an angel. Yes, there's a literal meaning that he is so beautiful, but also because Allah created so much beauty in him, in his heart, that he resembled like the malaika. Because immediately when they saw him, what did they see? Malaika. They resemble him to the malaika, because Allah Ta'ala wants us to become like angelic creatures who obey Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Except that we have the ability to make both choices. We could do wrong choice, right choice. The malaika only have to obey Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala because that's all they can do. So this is what Imam Ghazali ends with as a reminder for all of us, that make your purpose liqa Allah, that you want to meet Allah. You don't want to meet any pop star or football player or jobiho. Alright, nowadays everybody wants these things. You want to meet Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That's all you want to do. And when you get to this age, as you get older, this is your maqsad. And this will keep you happy. This will give you all the qana'ah that you will ever need. This is very, very important, especially in our day and age. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to make this a reality for us. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to bless people like Imam Ghazali and last week, We talked about Maulana Qasim Nanotwi, and before that we talked about Sheikh Zakaria Rahmatullah alayhi. We talked about we talked about Imam Malik, we talked about Abu Hanifa, Imam Yusuf. We bring in these people into the discussion because we want their barakah, because these are people who are qabul in Allah. Allah accepted all of these ulama, right? Allah accepted all these ulama that give their names. Allah accepted all of their work. They've all passed on and they're getting the rewards. We read this today. This book was written, who knows where it was written, in the Muslim world 1,000 years ago. 1,000 years ago, right? Mongol invasion happened, so much has happened since, but this book is still here today. It adorns shelves, it changes people's lives. Even non-Muslims read these books. Non-Muslims read these books, trust me, right? Because they want to get insights. This is the impact these people have had. 1,000 years, and he still lives in his Jamaat. He still breathes amongst us. Because why? He wanted to please Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. This is what we want to do. May Allah give us all tawfiq, inshallah. Subhanallah bihamdihi, subhanakallahumma wa bihamdika, nashhadu an la ilaha illa anta nastaghfiruka wa natubu ilayk. Jazakallah.